All right, good evening, everybody. It is for you at least Monday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Time. So it's your time for your weekly Calamity Jane live stream, and I do the air quotes because this week we're not actually coming at you live. We're recording this Sunday evening. Can you believe it? Technology is amazing. We're doing this because I'm actually out of town this week, but we wanted to make sure that we were still around for you to get your weekly dose of Calamity Jane. We know how important routine is, and so we decided to give this a shot. See if we could pre-schedule something, pre-record it, and then make it happen seamlessly. I feel like I'm giving it away a little bit by then explicitly talking about it in the moment, but yeah, there you have it. It's not live, so if you try to chat with us tonight, of all nights, you won't get a response. James, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Hello, everybody. To echo what you just said, technology is amazing.
It's also the worst thing ever, but that's a separate conversation. But yes, it is our weekly stream, and this should, if I set everything up correctly, it should be live at the time that you expect it to be live. What are we talking about tonight, James?
So for tonight's stream, I figured I was gonna do a little bit of a polish on the Warhog animation
Mm-hmm.
for the scenes that I've been kind of working on for the past few weeks. I wanted to kind of I figured this might be a nice little stream to kind of just talk about some subtle little secondary animation I want to add to the run cycle for the Warhog. So
Can we? I mean, they throw that word around pretty, or that term around pretty loosely because we both understand it. But just for the sake of anybody who might not understand what you mean by secondary animation, it might seem self-explanatory. But if you could you give us a nickel definition of what that means?
sure. Now, and of course, this is all subjective. Any animator will tell you what's secondary animation and what it's not. But in our case, what I'm referring to is we have a primary animation, which we're going to see here. I'll scrub through it, which is just the Warhog itself running right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've kind of mentioned before there were some things I kind of wanted to do, kind of luxury or extra animation, which we'll call secondary animation to the cycle. Now, for all intents and purposes, this will be for what I wanted to convey, which is Warhog running. It's great. It does everything I need to do, but what I want to do for secondary is to add a little bit of motion to the hair here,
Mm-hmm.
like kind of add a little bit of gravity to it,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe even add a little bit of a squash and stretch type of a motion to the body itself. It'll all be really subtle, and so this is why I call it secondary, because it's not really the main idea is already conveyed with the run
Mm-hmm.
itself, but I want to just add a little bit of icing on the top.
Okay.
I might even right now this body actually has a tail kind of attached to it. And if we have time, I might actually separate this tail out and kind of add a little bit of a bounce to that as well. So I'm in animate right now. This is what I'm using to animate the Warhog. As you can see here, I have a whole bunch of layers here kind of laid out to kind of help organize and structure my animation built on parts. So this did start out with literally 2 frames of animation, which is this extreme pose here, and then actually this pose here,
Mm-hmm.
which is all it is taking the parts from this extreme pose and then manipulating it to go to here. Now, if this is a slower animation, I would actually probably polish this stuff up, polish this pose up a little bit more and add a little bit more of a hoof colliding with this ground plane here, which I've kind of put in as a temp.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can see this thin black line. I don't know. Can you see that, Eric?
Yeah, I can see that. So what you're saying is that because the rate of the speed at which the Warhog is running, you're not worrying about additional frames of animation.
Yeah, because see how fast this guy goes. If I go through it, it's pretty quick.
Yeah.
Your eye's not gonna be able to see it for very long. But I mean, my eye sees it, so that might be something I may want to do and polish this particular pose right here with the hooves. Meaning, let me add an extra layer of drawing. So I mean, in a happy scenario, I would want to maybe wrong color here. Let me get this one, and we will do this. kind of want to actually have the foot land
Right,
on the
because their
actual.
hooves like splay out
Yeah.
as they're pressed around on the ground.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Because as you can see, they're just kind of. It's not really, it's not really connecting with the ground. And I could put it here, and I could probably get away with it that way. I mean,
I
but
mean,
anyways, I mean, that's just being really nitpicky at this point
sure.
because of how.
I'll be honest. I ever since I've seen this animation, I think it's silly, in a good way, not in a bad way. I kind of like how, I don't know, the Warhog has almost an awkward gait to it that is, in a weird way, for something as violent as this thing is. It gives it a little bit of a cuteness, which I find to be a fun juxtaposition. It's got such a kind of a cute gallop, but it's this vicious, fanged, red-eyed beast that's
It's
stampeding.
so cute it can kill, kind of
Right,
a thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I always found the animation pretty fun, the way it is. But
And this anime and the general idea for this animation is going to be kind of how the rest of Calamity Jane goes too, with how she moves too. Everything's going to be kind of more cutesy poppy in a way, because it's mainly me animating it, and the team needs to be me, meaning me, has to be kind of smart how to animate stuff in an efficient way, but not get too caught up in doing Walt Disney, frame by frame, 24 frames in 1 second type of stuff either. But try to get mileage out of just a couple of keyframes and think more Hanna-Barbera style than Walt Disney classic, stuff.
economics of animation.
Yeah, but at the same time, there are going to be opportunities where I will get a little bit more mileage out of whatever I'm doing, which is what I'm going to attempt to do today. As you can see here, I have 8 frames of animation. You can see up here on the top here, there's a little indicator showing the max number here. So within those 8 frames, I'm pretty happy with the timing of this, and I'm happy to hear that you're happy with, from the audience perspective, you're happy with the cutesy poppy kind of style it is. That's great. So we're on the same page there, and I just want to just kind of plus it a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this hair, and it's already a symbol, meaning I've named it a Warhog _ main. And this is this is where we get into animate flash terms, but we have the Warhog's timeline here that we're seeing. But you can actually, if you make a symbol, you can actually make a another timeline and nest animation within it.
Oh wow!
So now I'm in the White House main's timeline. Now, if I go back out, I'm in the Warhog's timeline, which is everything, all the parts that comprises it.
Right.
But I can go inside the main, the hair of the Warhog, and I'm going to make that 8 frames as well to kind of match the overall length of the main timeline here. So
it would get weird if it was like 12 frames or something like that. It would get kind of out of sync with the rhythm of the rest of the animation.
Exactly. It'll be out of sync. Although, you could also manually just call up certain frames. There'll be times when you want to make a lot of extra frames for something else, meaning you want to call up a frame to do something and have another frame to do something else. But in this case, yes, you're absolutely correct. We need to have it kind of synced to the 8 frames here. So we're going to... What?
Oh, no. Go ahead.
So I will make it essentially 8 frames, and here I'm going to play a little bit, but I'm going to do an extreme. I'm going to try to do a couple of extreme poses. I'm going to consider this the neutral pose for the hair. Then I'm going to do a squashy pose for the hair, and then a stretch pose for the hair.
Okay.
Now, in the main timeline of the Warhog, there's this type of animation I'm doing here. It's kind of a little bit of hand drawn, meaning I drew this pose, but then I also relied on, if you can see this purple shade here, I made symbols for each of these body parts for the Warhog, and then tween them using Animate's tweening function in the program.
It sounds a little self-explanatory, but by tween you mean it auto-generates all of the animations between the keyframes.
Yes, exactly. So I'm using this set of drawings here, and you can see here all these little highlighted squares and rectangles that show all the parts that I've built up. And then I made another frame here, and I just did a subtle move up as if to kind of fight with the gravity. And then I just had the computer interpolate with this extra frame here, where there's no dots. It's just a shading of purple. to help kind of bring it up to that pose. Now I can do that manually, but I'm just used to just using it this way sometimes just to get from point A to point B.
Well, it would be more work if you
Um,
manually added that in between frame.
yeah, and I'm content with, and again with it being so fast, I'm completely content with the computer doing some of the work on some of this animation. So there's a point where you don't want to rely too much on Adobe Animate to do all the animation work because then it'll get kind of mechanical looking.
Hmm.
But you can use it indiscreetly, just here and there to kind of help add a little bit of extra
So
sauce to a pose.
while you work, I want to pick your brain a little bit. The trend that I see an awful lot in a lot of weekly cartoons is
Mhm.
there's almost a similarity to the style of the way characters move in the scene. Very distinct joint positions. Things
Yeah.
seem to scale and stretch rather than move. Is
Hmm.
that as a result of the technology that they're using? Are they
Yeah.
using similar technology, and as a result, they get a similar animation kind of um, result?
Yeah. That's there's a couple of terms that are out there, but yeah, that term, the technique that they're using is most likely puppeting,
Mm-hmm.
where they set up one set of drawings, which I'm doing here,
Mm-hmm.
and then puppeting it, meaning we're setting up all the rigging it and setting up all the different parts for movement for later to recycle for later, so you don't have to draw it again.
Mm.
So that's what I'm kind of doing a puppeting thing here. It's not much, but I don't. I myself don't like to use too much puppeting. I do a little bit of a combination of doing keyframe animation, finding out which keys are really important, and then trying to interpret, and then trying to get from one pose to another. So in this case, I did two keyframes. This frame,
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to just recycle it to get to this frame,
Mm-hmm.
all the poses. But I didn't really interpolate. As you can see, this purple shading didn't interpolate all the way to this pose. I kind of just manually picked where to hold it and to where to just snap to the next pose to help kind of give it that poppy animation feel
Mm-hmm.
that you're seeing here. So like there's no in between from here to here. It's just literally from that, oh, he's already touching the ground. And that was intentional
Mm-hmm.
to kind of help give it that kind of springy, poppy kind of feel.
Yeah, in the
But
absence of motion blur, jumping from a different frame to a different frame makes it feel faster, right?
yes, exactly. Yep, and that's what I was going for this particular cycle. Now, with all that being said, now I'm going to go into a different kind of thought process with the hair, though.
Mm-hmm.
The hair, we have 8 frames of animation I'm going to do, and as I mentioned before, I'm going to do an extreme pose from stretch and squash. And I'm going to make the frames in here, but I'm not going to do it in order just yet. I'm just going to kind of play with it and get a feel
Okay.
for how I can handle this. But I'm using Adobe Animate's shape tween, which is different than their classic tween that you see here. It's purple shading here. I'm going to do something where the computer's going to really interpolate a whole bunch of frames for me. And I'm just going to see how that kind of goes. So the way we do this, so in Animate, everything is a vector type of format. It's the way it draws art, and it's able to scale it to really small and really big. But everything is drawn with these points on them. So if I use
Mm-hmm.
the correct menu select arrow, and I select it, you can see these are all points to help draw this character. And all it is just a point A to point B to draw a line, point A to point B to draw a line. So when I want to use a shape tween, this is what it's thinking about. It's actually going to draw where these points are in relative space on frame 1 and where they're going to end up on frame 8.
So this isn't like a discrete asset. You can't open up warhog main.bmp or JPEG. This is something that's procedurally generated in Animate.
Yes, yes. This is a shape. This is what they call a shape tween in Animate. You can't. Every program has a different way of doing certain types of animation. There's a Moho Pro that will actually manipulate. It can manipulate bitmaps and vectors as well, but it handles a little bit differently.
Sure. I mean, a bitmap would be resolution bound, right? Like,
Yes,
okay.
exactly. Yeah. But for our intents and purposes, what I'm going to do a squash pose first. So I'm going to keep these two. You see the forehead point here, and then by the butt point here. I'm going to leave those alone
Okay.
because I know that's going to be a fixed point for the hair.
Okay.
But for everything else, I'm going to actually manipulate this a little bit. So I'm going to drag this point here, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can see a little bit more. There's a point here, so I'm going to drag that down a little bit, and I'm going to take this point, drag that down just a bit, drag this point down just a bit, and I can start to shape how the squashy pose of the hair is going to look. Now you can see, like, now this is the same as an Illustrator when you're drawing stuff. You have these little handles on your points that you can kind of drag out and kind of manipulate them. So I could actually kind of just shape it even more if I wanted to. But for what I want to do, I'm going to do some subtle stuff, but I'm going to keep it pretty simple for now. All right, so that's okay. It's enough of a change. Okay, there we go. So that's from one frame to another. It's kind of a squashy type of thing here. Let me do a shape to it and see if it sticks. Now this is where animate sometimes will wig out and just freak out. Go, you move points. I don't know how to handle this. Let me see if this works. All right. So it did freak out right here. You can see right here.
Yeah, I see that.
But the rest of it's working okay. See if I can kind of fix this a little bit. It's really grumpy about that one. Let's see. Now, another thing. Now, again, this squash doesn't have to happen over 8 frames. So I'm going to actually do it over 4. Let's see if it helps at all. No, it really doesn't like that. Jeez. There we go. A little better. Okay. There we go. That feels a little better now. Sometimes you have to massage some of the stuff a little bit to get it to work with what you want. But let me keep. Now I'm going to really playing with house money a little bit now. So, okay, so it's coming down. I'm going to attempt to do extreme pose up. So let me see here. So let's go back to the main timeline of the Warhog. So on frame 1. And the exit frame, he's at the highest point. So I want that to be relatively neutral. On the way down, I want it to be the highest point, the stretchy point for the hair, because it's trying to catch up with gravity.
Right.
Then it'll squash here, and then it'll go back to normal. That's my intent. So at this point, this will be normal. So the first few frames are going to be okay. Stretch, down, squash, and then back up. So let's see here, from 6 to 8 will be the squashy frames for the hair. Let me see if I can pull that off. So what I'll do is I'm going to copy 1 frame over. And I'll keep this on the side. That's my base frame. I'm going to bring these guys over. This will be my 6, 7, 8, 5, 6, 7, 8. That'll be the last frame there. So I'm still retaining 5 frames. So now towards the end, it's going to do that. It's going to do that. And then on the top part of this, I'm going to stretch it up. And I'm going to, again, be pretty small with my movements for now, because this is more of this is just to see if I can get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's still grumpy. That's making it grumpy. Yeah, see, sometimes these points are really... Sometimes they can be pretty finicky. So in this case, I may have to manually just do it by hand, which I'm not. I mean, I can sit here and try to fiddle with it, or I can just do it by hand, which is where I'm going to end up.
There is a point at which is like, at what point is
like,
debugging the automatic process take more time than just doing it?
Yes. So in this case, I'm just going to I turned on my onion skin here, and I'm
Okay.
just gonna do it the old-fashioned way. Turn on onion skin and get it to where I want it to go. Let's see. Even doing that one extra frame.
It's interesting. It's adding like an extra like spline point or something in there.
Yeah, yeah. It's trying. It's trying to. It's like this is what you wanted to do, right? It's like no, it's okay. We'll figure that
It's
out.
such a try hard.
Yeah. So there, and then one more frame to go. So I'm going to drag this frame over and bring it over, and kind of just bring it in a little bit more, a little bit more. This is the fun and the tediousness of animation. Sometimes
Yeah,
you gotta.
yeah.
Okay. There's a little bit of a jiggle there, but it's okay. This thing's moving so fast. I'm okay with that for right now. Let's just try to see how this looks. I'm going to set. So right now, these are all set to single frame. If I look at my properties panel,
Mm-hmm.
um, I can go ahead and I'll just go ahead and play once that's on frame one. Frame two. This will be frame three. And frame four. And I will manually set a frame here for frame five. And frame six here. Frame seven. And frame eight. Now let me try to loop this. I'm not sure if I like that all too much.
Yeah, it seems a little bit unintentional right now.
Yeah,
I mean, it's pretty rough, and maybe it's just because of the speed that the animation is occurring. But I think the Warhog is also moving up and down so much too. You're not getting an opportunity to see the hair settle in and out of its different
yeah, we
positions.
may have to just kill it. It may just be a bad experiment on my part.
Huh.
Let's see. Yeah, it's strobing too much. I'm not very happy with that. Trying to see here. Let's see. So that should be the extreme stretch. Let me try some things out here. One. I may have just set the frames wrong too. So I'm manually just doing it now. But I have a whole bunch of drawings in the air. So
Mm-hmm.
now I'm just playing around, um, seeing if I can kind of tweak it to what I want. So instead of frame six, I'm going to go frame three. Frame one, two, frame three, frame four, and frame five. Let's see. It's a little better, but still, I don't know if it's really necessary or not. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the animation is so fast. It's a subtle thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I kind of like it. I like the motion of the hair.
He's
And
pulling on you.
I'm not really reading the compression expansion, as it gallops. But just
Mm-hmm.
the fact that there's a little bit of secondary motion is nice, quite frankly. Even if there's potentially polish that needs to go into it,
Yeah,
already it feels a little bit more organic with the
yeah.
fur moving a little bit.
Yeah, the failed experiment is starting to kind of get resurrected a little. There's a little bit of a Lazarus effect. I think we're kind of drawing it from the dead a little bit, because before it wasn't. I had my timing off. I think, to be blatantly honest. But playing with the frames here manually and pulling what I want, I think is sort of helping. Now, I mean, I could still massage this a little bit more, but we'll leave that for a bit. Uh, yeah, I think it does help now.
Yeah, I think it does.
Now, the other thing I was going to try to do, let's see here, right here, this compression thing here. Now, I'm wondering, I was going to manually draw the new poses for the Warhog's body,
Mm-hmm.
but I might just literally just squash and stretch this body a little bit on this compression thing, where on the compression landing frame here
Mm-hmm.
before it bounds back up. So right here, I am going to wreck my animation a little bit here.
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh.
Let's just see. Okay, so I am on. Before, it's funny. Like I have my thing listed here as RB03 body. It
Mm-hmm.
should be Warhog WH03 body. That's my naming convention. But before we even name these things, I called it Razorback. Before we had
Razorback. Wow.
Yeah,
All
RB
right.
stands
There
for.
you
But
go. There's a little bit
yeah,
of some trivia when
yeah.
when
But
Calamity
yeah,
Jane is an international sensation and they're asking Calamity Jane questions at bar trivia. Razorback will be one of the questions.
yeah. So I don't want it to get confused. If anybody's asking about naming conventions, like why do you have RB here and WH someplace else? Well,
Because life.
because of life, exactly. Okay, so I went through and did a little compression on the body here. I'm gonna have fun here, and I'm gonna just I'm gonna have the computer interpolate to get to this squashy
Hmm.
pose here, which again was really subtle, and just to see how it looks if I actually massage a little bit with an extra interpolated computer frame here. So we'll do a classic tween here. Oh wow, I was complaining about something here. Let's see. I have my symbol here. Oh, that's a brow. Okay. What I could do here. Now these are grouped instead of a symbol, but you know what? I'm going to break my own rule and I'm going to create a classic tween anyway. It's,
What
yeah,
happened
I
to
may
his
have
eyebrow?
ruined it right there. Like I said, I like blowing things up, so let's just try something
All
here. Let me
right.
see. Okay, so I got the body.
His mane is actually a toupee.
Yeah, it is. Let's see here. Okay, well, that's easy to fix some of this stuff anyway. Sometimes I actually sort of force Flash to do what I want, so I'm actually doing that now. The hair wasn't following it the way I wanted it to, but I wanted to rotate it the right way, so I actually put a piece of paint here and then use both to rotate it from a pivot point here and drag it over. If I
Hmm.
didn't have this paint splotch here, if I wanted to rotate this, it'd be doing this. It'd be rotating from this pivot point.
Oh, but
So
you. Oh,
I
wow.
just forced it
There
to do
you
what I want to
go. A
do.
little bit of a pro
I don't
tip
get
for
I
you.
don't get pushed around by Flash. No. There, but it actually fixed that. Okay, so I'm zooming out really small to kind of help the computer. I feel like the processor's kind of sometimes it kind of, and I don't know if it's a Flash legacy thing or what, but sometimes it'll run things really slow,
Hmm.
even though there's not much going on the screen. So let's see how that looks. Not too bad. It's pretty. That what I just did was pretty subtle. I don't even think you can tell.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't really notice anything at that point.
Hmm.
His his weight seems to be shifted forward a little bit more at the point of the gallop,
Hmm.
which I mean that looks good.
Yeah, I think we're in pretty good shape. Laura, I think the only other thing I wanted to do, and again, like I said, I could sit here forever and do stuff, but I wanted to add a little bit of a mouth closing, just slightly,
Mm-hmm.
when he lands down here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what I could do, I could make 2 frames. This is with mouth closed. And we could do, let me try this. I'll try to blow up more stuff. Why not? Um, I'm going to bring this up a little bit. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm just doing a shape tweak, but I'm only tweeting this area. Let's see if if it doesn't get mad at me for this. If you notice, I'm only using 3 frames instead of the full 8,
Yeah.
and that's intentional.
Okay.
Because I don't need that many frames to do this. So let's just see. All right, so that's good. It's not perfect, but for experiment's sake, let's just use it anyway. So, all right. So right now, see how it's running? It's like kind of vibrating there.
Yeah.
I just set it to 1 frame all the way through, and I only call up when I want to bring up frames, as needed. So this will be turned off to, instead of from loop, I will go to single frame. From here, single frame. Pretty much everything here is going to be single frame. And I will manually call up the frames I want on the land. So from here, I'll do frame 2.
And then frame 3 for when he's all the way on the ground.
Yes, correct. And then frame 3 when he's on the ground. All I could do is start from frame 1 here. And then frame 3 here, frame 2 here. Is it even giving it to me? What the heck is going on here? Let's see. Yeah, it is. Okay. So, yeah, it is working. Okay. Frame. Let's try that. Yeah, it's pretty subtle.
Mm-hmm.
You can't even see it. I can see it just a little bit, but it's not enough to really. But I mean, I could, like I said, this is where we go down the rabbit hole. I mean, you could really start playing with stuff.
I mean, you could get pretty extreme with the mouth closing and opening. I mean,
Yeah,
if his mouth
exactly.
closed all the way, you'd notice it.
Yeah, and so let's try that. I will go this way. Let's see if I broke it. No, it's all there. Okay, now let's try that. Okay, and I'll put on loop. Okay, it still snaps over here. So if I was to put this on frame 2, and this to frame that's on 1. Okay, so let's see. A little bit off sync, but I think I could use those frames.
Yeah. I mean, I think it will be. I think when you have a bunch of the Warhogs next to each other and you see all of that happening, I think it'll play really well.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think let me throw away my sketch here. Let's All right, let me get back to the main timeline. I'm going to close this out. This is group 2, Warhog group 2. Let's open it up again. All right, I had them all saved already, all together in the file, but I was editing one at a time, one instance of it. So now these are all of them together. Let's pull them all over here, and let's check them out. And this one doesn't have. Oh my gosh! Did I lose all the animation? Oh my gosh! All the animation's gone.
Oh,
that's a shame.
Oh no!
I did hit save.
Did it just not bring it over?
I don't know. Jeez, I clicked save. I could have swore I did. Well, I guess we could find it in the stream. That's a bummer.
I thought I saw you click save.
Yeah, I thought I hit Control S. Bummer. Well, that's a real lame kick in the.
No! No! Everybody, this is a classic example of lost work in the computer age.
Oh,
You're
man.
witnessing you're witnessing the plight of the digital artist in real time.
Oh, I had to have been user error. It has to be on me, but I could have swore I got rid of the asterisk, hit
Oh,
save. But it's okay. It's in my head, and I know how to, and I can
yeah.
do it again, and I can replicate it. It was only what, half an hour for us to do a stream.
Yeah,
Not a big deal. I
absolutely.
mean,
No, and
um,
and I feel like our audience learned a valuable lesson about double checking, triple checking your
yeah,
save.
no,
What's that old carpenter saying? Measure twice, cut once, right? Save twice,
yeah,
exit once.
yeah, yeah. I
Oh
mean,
man.
so if anything, I guess future wise, I'll just save it as a new file instead of saving over the existing one. Who knows? Whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
It
No,
happens,
it's
but it's
it
okay.
but that was super interesting. I was fascinated watching that and just sort of seeing your process and how the in-betweening works and getting a little bit of insight into how Adobe Animate works. Yeah, it was fun tonight. Thanks for playing.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out. I mean, yeah, unfortunately, the end result wasn't what we wanted, but it's okay. A half hour's worth of work and entertaining other people.
And I also feel
So
like you learned a little bit too about what worked, what didn't work.
yeah,
So,
and again, our stream is about animation and the process of creating stuff with warts and all. Like we're
and
not here to make
loss is a part of the
stuff.
process.
Yeah, you guys get to see me. I trip all the time. I have so many scars on my
Oh
knees
my God,
as a
forget
result of
about
it.
it.
It's
Yeah, yeah.
part of life. But
But
yeah, it'll definitely get a new. We'll get the Warhog in there with that massage animation back in soon enough. It's all in my head, so
yeah,
I'll go.
I think at the end of the day, regardless of the lost work, I think that it proved that the a little bit of secondary animation does make a difference. So it's definitely something that's worth pursuing. I know it's yet more work on your plate, but
Again, sort of like Eric and I were talking about what we wanted to talk about for today's stream, and this was kind of like an icing on the top, icing on the
yeah,
cake kind of thing.
yeah.
Anyway, it's not. It's okay.
Well,
There's worse things to worry about than
I agree.
that.
I agree. But I think that about wraps us up for the evening. Thanks everybody for tuning into the live stream. Again, if everything worked as intended, you are seeing this as it's scheduled to come out. If not, we'll post it whenever we realize that it's not up properly. And then in the meantime, we'll be back live streaming real time next Monday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can, of course, always find us at calamityjane.rocks, which will take you to our Patreon site, or you can just go directly to our Patreon site, patreon.com/calamityjane. Or you can find us on Facebook, same thing, Calamity Jane Venture Hour. Look us up, like us on all of those things. Isn't that the kids say? Hit the subscribe. I don't know, something like that. I don't know. I feel like I'm supposed to say it, but I don't know. In
Yeah.
any case, thanks for hanging out with us for a little bit, and we'll see you soon. Good night, everybody.
Night, everybody. Take care.
Bye.